Okay, now for those of you who don't know me, first things first, this is what we're going to be doing, working for SNS. The first part of today's session, we're going to be looking at I've been in the industry for 4 years now. We're going to have a bit of a break, customer service, and then try and batter away through that role, I should say, additionally. Contact centre, try and get our way through to lunch, where we're going to go to the core. I've been with the HGA session for ownership control, 18 months, conflict avoidance. I think all in all, I sort of hopefully we're all still alive after I specialise earlier in technologies, examples, some real world stuff to see how we can. Yeah, you're right. Come in, Gramsci.
You haven't projected it.
Okay, I work in a broad amount of different subjects, mainly technologies, but also work a lot on the social networking strategies, so looking at not just how do we technically implement stuff, but how do we as humans, as people, as a herd, interact with each other, how does social sciences work, what is it nicest to. Okay, the introductions are over. So, customer engagement. Has anybody come across this before? No? Like I say, I like this to be interactive, so shout no, yes, or whatever. Or I don't know. Customer engagement's been around for quite a while, probably about 30 years now. It was a concept that was thought up by business philosophers to try and get a measure, to try and get a metric on the quality of the relationship between them and their customers. Essentially, CE is boiled down to two things. We have the amount of interaction, so how much does somebody interact with us, how much do they talk to us, how much do they send us emails, messages, DH chats, my DHgate messages, and also the quality of interaction. Do they achieve what they set out to achieve? And do we meet their expectations? Do we do what they expect us to do? Now, it's a bit of an abstract idea, but it's absolutely key, fundamental to both how we do as a business and how the customer sees us as an organisation. A lot of companies still, 30 years on, don't really understand about customer engagement, and that's when you go on the internet and you search for those companies and you get those websites going scam, you know what I mean, saying, oh, customer service, they just fobbed me off, they stole my money, blah blah blah, because they're not doing anything differently from a transaction point of view. It's just they're not engaging with the customers. The customers don't trust them, they're faceless. Customers in the West want to feel that they're speaking to an actual person, not just a company, not just a brand. They actually want to feel like they're having a real conversation with the person. Okay, so why are we bothered? What's in it for us? What's in it for DHgate? Well, customer engagement. Ooh. There we go, somebody's just... so I don't know, can you still see it? Customer engagement is different from customer satisfaction. Now, a lot of people say customer satisfaction, that's how happy are they with, how happy is a customer with the service? Have we done what they want us to do? Are they generally happy? Are they moaning more? Are they moaning less? Customer engagement is a little bit different from satisfaction in that it's at the centre, it really is a marketing tool. It's a way of taking conversion, so people who have found us on the internet or through word of mouth marketing, so where people speak to each other, or through SEO or PPC, we've got them to a point where they've converted, so they've actually purchased something from us. And now we want to use customer engagement to look at maintaining that relationship, keep them buying, and then get them to tell their friends. So we talk about CE as being more of a long-term tool. Looks at strategic benefit as opposed to the operational, instantaneous. We're not too concerned about that. Now, if you get it right, we can foster what we call loyalty and advocacy. So, I mean, are those two terms that we're happy with, loyalty and advocacy? Low blank faces. No? Okay. Loyalty. Loyal is dead easy. I buy my car from Ford. Okay? Through their customer engagement, through their engineering of my social relationship, I now always want to buy my car from Ford. I don't care about Volkswagen or Mercedes or Chevrolet. That is loyalty. You're loyal to the brand, you'll always buy. Advocacy is where you are so happy with a brand that you want to tell other people. That you say you're sat in a restaurant with a friend and you're talking about cars. You say, oh, well, I have a car, I have a Ford. But your friend has a Volkswagen. Advocacy is where you like the brand that much, you will then argue for your brand and say, no, you want to buy Ford, you want to buy Ford. Volkswagen are no good. Other cars are available. So through loyalty and advocacy, we can get a really strong relationship with our customers. We can ensure that they continue to buy from us, but we can also ensure that they're going to go around telling other people that these are the people that you want to shop with. But we can only really achieve this through customer engagement. We want to make them part of the company. We don't just want to sell to them. We want the customer to feel that they're sort of part of the family almost. And this is where we get engagement from. Okay, so before I go on, is everybody happy with that? Am I talking too fast, or are we all sort of broadly following it? I apologise. My Chinese is shocking. Trust me, it's better I do it in English. But honestly, if I'm speaking too fast, or if you want me to repeat something, then just go ahead and say, "Wait, I don't understand." Okay. Yeah. All right. Good. Like I say, interactive. It works a lot better. Everybody's happy. So engagement. Now I'm like there, still. Okay. There are a couple of techniques, tools we can use to try and get closer to our customers, to try and invite them into our family. The first thing that you have to understand is something called customer expectations. Is this a concept that we've come across? No? Yes, no? Okay. I'll go into more detail on this in a minute, but customer expectations is when a customer comes to us as people, or us as a company, what are they expecting? What do they think they're going to get? Okay. Managing those expectations is a key part to building a good relationship. Building rapport. Have we come across rapport before? No. This sounded like a big part of stealing something when I first came across it about 12 years ago as a young man. When I first started in customer service environments, this was being pushed. It was around about 2000, 99, 2000. And it's about the idea of understanding somebody else's emotions. The third thing we can do is use ownership and control. This helps give the customer a feeling that we actually care, as opposed to just saying things to make them feel like they're, just to try and avoid getting into trouble or getting shouted at. And then the final thing, and this is something that is perhaps the most important, is the review and improvement process. We can go away today and we can do all of these things, but unless you as individuals are looking at what you've done, how your customers have reacted, how effective effective your communication is, it doesn't matter, because you will never know whether or not it's working. You'll never know if you need to adjust. Okay, customer expectations. It's an absolute nightmare at first, because the problem is expectations. What somebody expects to get or expects to experience is different with every individual customer.
Yes.
You can't just go, oh, they all want this, this, and this. No, it doesn't work. It's different every time. Which means you, as customer-facing staff, have a massively important job to do. Because you are the ones who actually speak to the customers, and you are the ones that have to make that instantaneous, split-second thought of, what does this customer want? Now, there are some commonalities, there are some areas that customers typically always expect us to be fairly high. First thing, they want us to do things quickly. Customers don't want to sit around. They don't want to sit on a phone for half an hour in a queue. They don't want to be waiting for 7 days for an email to come back with an update. They don't want to be sat there waiting. They have lives. They have other things they want to do. Okay? This isn't a convenience. All right. We are very much a service industry. Yeah, where we don't manufacture anything. You have no physical, tangible products. What we try to manufacture is a good relationship. So a timely service in every aspect of the business is massively important. You all know that. You've all dealt with disputes where you've had to sort out some sort of refund or a card chargeback or something like that. And the card supplier said, oh, it's going to be 14 working days or whatever it is. The customers turn around, which is outrageous. But that's tricky because there's nothing that we can do about it. It genuinely is the card supplier that says, no, it's going to be 14 days. It's quite difficult. But there are ways that we can address that. The customers typically always want us to be accurate. So they want us to deal with fact. Now that's not just with information that they get from the company. They want us to be accurate with information that they give us. The customer doesn't want to repeat information to you every time. So when you're speaking or communicating with the customer, it's really important to capture that information and make sure once you're speaking to that customer, you use that opportunity to get all the information that we need. Okay, have to be accurate. The third applies everywhere. Doesn't matter what you're doing. They expect us to be professional. Okay. Absolutely. Now that doesn't mean wearing a suit and putting on a deep voice and pretending to be a manager. It means that they expect us to deal with their query like they're the only customer. They expect us to apply time and accuracy. Okay. Most of all, they expect us to get the situation resolved. They're the three key commonalities between the customers expect when dealing with any sort of business. Okay. Rapport. Has anybody come across rapport? No. It's a bit of as a word, it's interesting. It comes from the
same as trust.
Almost. It's related to trust. You can use rapport to get trust. Rapport is it's like a sensation. It's like an emotion almost. You can't touch it. It's the feeling where, do you know when you sit down with someone and you're talking to them and you really get along and you think, oh, these are very good friends, or I really like this person. You say that you've got a rapport because there's it's hard, it's an emotion, it's hard to describe, but everything seems to fit in and you just seem to get along and you can talk for hours. You say you had a rapport. Now, the way that this works is really emotional, okay? It takes into account lots of different things. So, and it varies depending on how you're talking to somebody. If you think about when you talk to somebody in real life, okay, what we do, say if I'm talking to a bond, okay, regardless of what we're saying, regardless of the words, what we actually mean, we're both looking for something else. So we're looking at the face, looking at the eyes, we're looking at body language. So if you're talking to somebody and they're like with their arms crossed, okay, you know subconsciously, so you don't think it, you just know it in your inner mind. If somebody's like that, they're not comfortable. It's defensive. They're putting their arms in front of their body. This is a defensive move. Likewise, if you're talking to somebody and they're looking away like this, you know they're not interested. They're looking for something else because there's no value in your conversation. When you remove the face-to-face communication, you lose a lot of information. You can't see what they're doing, you can't see where they're looking, you can't see how they're sat, you can't see what their eyes are doing, you can't see what their jaws are doing, they're getting angry, It's very difficult to be able to go, oh, this person's happy, they're sad, they're concerned, they're flirtatious. We don't. We lose all that information. With telephone-based conversations, we still have the voice, which has a lot of information. Written communications is very different because we have it. But anyway, we'll look at that. Rapport is about this feeling that you get along with somebody, that you have an emotional connection with them. Okay? And it's very important. Why is rapport useful? Well, we're animals, essentially. Humans are. As much as we don't want to think this, we're just like cats or dogs or animals or giraffes or alligators. We rely on the same primordial sort of, fundamental animal characteristics. Okay? So we're quite, in many ways, because of that, we're naive to what other people are doing, which means we're susceptible to being convinced that a relationship is practically when it's supposed to. That sounds a bit nasty. I want to make it a bit more positive. Rapport for us as customer service professionals, as the shop front of the company, as the people who represent DHgate, we can use rapport to make relationships. Okay, so instead of just having a conversation with somebody in the street, you want to appear to them like they've known you all their lives, that you grew up together, that you went to school and you know everything about each other. Rapport can give us this, or can help us give us this. It also allows us to build relationships a lot faster. Okay, normally, say, well, you've had new colleagues come in, new people start at work. It's taken a couple of weeks to build a really good relationship up, to say, go on, kettle on, that sort of thing. Yeah, go on, please. To have a bit of banter. It takes a while for you to create that relationship. When you're speaking to a customer, you don't have that. You have about 3 minutes, 5 minutes maybe, on the phone for sure, to build that relationship, to make you feel like you're all friends. Rapport helps us build a relationship, but do it in a very good way. Build confidence. Now this is important. This comes back to engagement. If a customer doesn't feel confident in you, then more than likely what they're going to want is to speak to somebody else. Okay? In my experience in the West, the way this manifests, the way that this desire to speak to somebody else comes out is through shouting, blah, 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 I want to speak to your manager, blah, 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 yeah? I'm sure we've all had it. Really, 9 out of 10 times when somebody blows up and goes, I want to speak to your manager, they don't want to speak to the manager, they don't care who they speak to, they just want to speak to somebody else. But this isn't your fault. It's not that they don't like you, it's just you haven't quite got the rapport the first time off, so they want to speak to somebody else. It's not always possible. But this is where confidence building comes in. They're speaking to us because they want to speak to us. Okay? They're opening themselves up. We've got to jump in there, get their confidence straight away. Through confidence, we get trust. Trust is trust is one of the best tools that we have in our box. Okay, if you think of this from a sales point of view or from a marketing point of view, there's a list of about 5 things, 5 emotions, if you will, or 5 environments, which are absolutely killers. Do you know what I mean? They're amazing. The first one is fear. Fear is an amazing tool, but we can't use. I mean, I'm not saying please don't listen to. I'm not saying go out and generate fear amongst us. But this is so closely linked to us as animals that we respond very quickly to fear. Okay. However, it's inconceivable to even think of use that in a commercial context. You could argue that media outlets like news channels, newspapers and whatnot, they use fear quite a lot to generate momentum in the stories. Second thing, sex, that sells, that's number 2 on the list. The third, I would argue, a lot of people wouldn't, I argue that the third is trust. Okay. Trust relationships are really important because if you have a trust between yourself and another person, they'll let barriers down. Okay? They'll lower their defences, which means that you can talk to them in a much more subtle way. It makes it a lot easier for you to try and suggest ideas to them, suggest ways of doing things. And as people who work in, all of us, customer service environments, to be able to suggest something to another person and have them do that, that's a really powerful tool. Because we know what they need, but getting them to that point isn't always that easy. Now then, building a rapport is dead easy. You've just got to practice. You need to do it. There's loads of occasions where you can practice this. It's not just at work. You can do it in shops. Say if you're I go down, every now and again, I go down to Walmart, to the supermarkets. You know, when you start sort of negotiating on prices, one of the things they almost certainly will say is that I'll give you this price as my friend. They're trying to build that relationship. One of the main tool that we're going to be using is this idea of mirroring, which is I'm following what you're doing. I'm looking at your body language, I'm listening to your voice, I'm trying to work out what emotional state you're in, and I'm trying to change myself to be nearer your emotional state. That way we can communicate, build a trust relationship. There's 2 others which I don't think we're not really going to go into. Reciprocity, which is it's giving stuff to people, all right? It's like gifts, gratuitous, but it's a bit deeper. For instance, okay, we're all sat at work, okay, and I, for no apparent reason, bring you a cup of tea, okay, for no reason whatsoever, and then I just go away. Okay, and at first you'll be like, what the fuck? You know? and then, but this plays on your mind subconsciously, and it automatically creates a sense that you have to do something for me. Okay. If, for instance, I was to bring you a can of drink and say, oh, here's a can of drink, could you do this for me? That's not reciprocity. That's a bribe. That's giving something to you in return for a favour. The idea of reciprocity is that you give something to somebody who didn't ask for it and you don't ask for anything. And then you are planting the seed in their mind of they need to do something for you. More than likely they'll come back at a later date and they'll say, look, can I do this for you? They might bring you a cup of tea, or, you know, they're going to want to repay a favour. It's bizarre, it's a human thing. Who knows why? It's probably something to do with this thing called herd mentality, which we shan't go into. But it's interesting, but I doubt we'll ever get the, you probably won't use it as a technique that often. In marketing we do, in a sense. You know, we'll find somebody and we'll just send them some stuff. Oh yeah, this is it, this is where all the tank go. Commonality, you might use this a bit. It's the idea of you're in a room full of people. You've never met any of them before, but you have to go and talk to them, one-to-one, face to face. Commonality is about going to that person, asking questions. Do you know what I mean by a loaded question? It's like a question where you're leading the answer, so you want them to give you a certain answer. Commonality works in the same way. You're asking them questions, specific questions, to try and find something that you have in common with that other person. And that works in a similar way to mirroring. You're trying to adjust yourself to be in the same sort of alignment with the other person, to be compatible with the other person. We're going to concentrate on mirroring because it's going to be far more useful for you, and far easier to do, because reciprocity, part of the DRC, you could argue, job is that we try not to give too much stuff away. Commonality typically means that you would be approaching that other person as opposed to the other person approaching you. So, emotional mirroring and empathy. Now, if you've come across rapport before, I imagine you may have come across empathy. But we've got a quick show of hands if any of you done empathy? Looked at it? Yeah.
No.
Almost.
The same as the feelings with the others.
Yes.
The other one you separate.
About the rapport. Yeah, right. Empathy is the underlying, is the technology of it. We can use empathy. In fact, in customer services, we use it all the time. It's about being able to speak to somebody and
share other people's feelings or emotions, right?
yeah, it's a bit like the way it was explained to me. It was like you pick yourself up and put yourself in that other person's shoes. Absolutely. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit like character acting. You feel the emotion that they're in, but you try to understand it. Huh?
用中国话说，感同身受。
Is it? I'll take your word for that. You put yourself in their shoes. Yeah. So.
思考，对，换位思考，感同身受。
Just understand others' feelings.
Yeah.
Understand others' feelings in his or her state.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is it. Nail on the head. But empathy. This is the first half of empathy, about understanding it. Then the second half is empathy is giving something back to that person. Okay. So you create. Sometimes it's what you call a frame. Okay. You know, like a picture frame. Something that holds a picture. You create a frame, and you The other person is in this frame, yeah? And what you do is you change yourself emotionally, so you try and make the other person feel like you're also in the frame. That's a wildly abstract idea, but you want to say something, or you want to emote, or you want to give that other person information to make them feel that you and her, or you and him, are feeling the same thing. Okay? You're both, if it's a bad thing, you're both suffering the same anxieties, the same bad emotions. If it's a good thing, you're both sharing the same euphoria, the idea that only you are experiencing, you two people are experiencing that thing at the same time. Through that, you get a trust relationship, a bit of camaraderie. You get like a band of brothers. Like, do you know what I mean by camaraderie? No, okay. Like a comrade, like two brothers, or like soldiers in a platoon. Yeah, you're comrades in arms. You're very close. Okay, you're both looking out for each other. You're both trying to see the best for each other. Empathy is the key to developing this sort of relationship, and you have to do it every time. Every time you have to develop them. Really important, because as long as you don't have that empathetic relationship, the customer will always see you as the company. Okay, and if you're in a difficult situation, so where the customer's not happy, as long as they see you as the company and not as another person, then you'll find resistance. Yeah, it'll be difficult to get that other person, the customer, to actually do what they need to do, which is what we want them to do. So empathy, really important. The second thing about rapport building is you need to demonstrate understanding. Do you know how we were talking earlier? It was about building relationships, gaining trust, building trust and building confidence with a customer. First thing in this fact model, because what we do is deal with facts. The first thing we want to do is tell the customer that we understand them. Okay. Now, there's two parts to this. One, there's the factual information that they have given us and that we have. Okay, so what are the actual circumstances? The second understanding is this empathy, this emotional understanding. There's no point in trying to jump straight in with empathy if we haven't demonstrated to the customer that we actually understand the facts behind it. How? Because if we don't know the facts, if we don't actually understand the situation, how the hell can we empathise with them? Do you know what I mean? We can't put ourselves into their shoes without knowing the facts. It makes sense. It's a logical progression. So the first thing in building this trust relationship is demonstrating to the customer that we know exactly the circumstances, what's happened, when it's happened, and who it's happened to. Once we've done that, they'll instantly, right, they know what's gone off. That's what the customer's thinking. Right, and then you can go under your empathy and build a relationship. So, step one, gather all the facts. Make sure you do have all the facts. It's easy to assume stuff. We'll look at this later. Something called passive hearing and active listening. I don't know if you've come across it. I'll very quickly skim over it now. Our brains work quicker than our ears. Okay, we think quicker than we hear. Okay, so when we're having a conversation, we don't always listen to what we're hearing. We don't always get the information out. Our mind, because it's very fast compared to our ears, puts in information for us. It makes it up. Okay, so a lot of customer service professionals fall foul of this, where they're listening to somebody and their mind is putting in information which is wrong, but to them they don't see any difference. They don't realise their mind's doing this. So one thing, the customer's saying one thing, the employee's thinking something completely else. They don't worry. We'll cover that later. So the first thing to do is make sure you get all the facts. Be clinical about it. Get it bang, 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 chronologically, in order of date and time. Exactly what's happened to who. Okay. Then go and look at any information that perhaps we have on our internal systems. Pull that back in, interlace them, marry the two bits of information up so we have a complete picture, so we can see everything that's happened. And then go back to the customer and say, this is what's happened. Now you could say, well, why? What's the point in telling them they already know the information? Well, we talked about this briefly, but there's three reasons. The first thing is to do with the trust relationship, about demonstrating to the customer that we understand, because if we don't understand, we can't build out. This is what we just talked about. The second thing is to allow the customer to correct us. It may be that our mind has gone off on some crazy whirlwind tour of space and decided to put in imaginary details into what the customer said. Yeah? This active listening, passive hearing. Yeah? Our mind's making stuff up. It does happen. It sounds crazy, but it does happen. Repeating the information to the customer is like a validation step. It allows the customer to provide us with information that we might have had wrong. Okay? If we assume that the information's right, and then we go off and we then try and do some sort of, make a resolution, but the information's inaccurate, then that's just going to come back and the customer's going to say, no, then this is wrong. This isn't what happened. So it's a validation step for us to make sure that we have the right information. The third step, and this again comes back to building relationships, is it generates something called social value. Social value, yeah. Now this is something that's really key to the work that I do here. Okay, we're say we're in a bar, okay. That's my phone. And we meet. We have my friend says, "I'm going to meet you." We're talking. When I'm speaking to you, I'm listening to what you're saying. I analyse what you're saying, and I go, and then in my mind I go, is there any value? Are you offering me anything that's valuable to me in what you're saying? If you're not, I won't speak to you anymore. If you are, we'll carry on speaking. It's the same, without going on a tangent, it's the same with relationships, personal relationships. Say for instance, I'm sure we've all been out dating at some point. You're sat in a bar or wherever, a cinema or whatever, and you see a nice young man or woman, and you will instantly, subconsciously, assess them for social value. You look for these physical characteristics, again, shape of face, shape of body, height, stature, the way other people are behaving around them. And you're constantly going, has this person got value? Has this person got value? Is it worthwhile me committing my time and my resources to going up to that person and speaking to them? If they haven't got any social value, if they don't offer you any value, you won't. You'll just go, he's a fool. Do you know? If they have, then you'll probably go up, you'll speak to them, you'll listen to what they're saying, you'll assess them again for social value, and then you'll go, okay. In customer service, we're offering the customer information. Now, typically when a customer contacts you, they want information. That's why they call it, yeah? They want to know what you're going to do about it. They want to know when you're going to do it. And yeah, we all know what these people, what our customers want. Typically, they want some sort of resolution, but they want to know what and when. The customer is set up to receive information. That's why they contact us. If we respond to them with information, we're automatically hitting their social value trigger. They're contacting us for information. So what are we doing? We're getting the facts. We're giving them information. We're generating social value between ourselves and the customer. And this will incline the customer to speak to us more. Okay? And this will help build the trust relationship that we want. Because, as we were saying earlier, if we have a trust relationship, it's easier to suggest to people actions that they may want to perform, and they will then go away and perform it, as opposed to try and get somebody very angry that we don't have a relationship with, that we don't have trust with, and that we can't offer any social value to go and perform an action.
The second point,
Yeah.
the customer incorrect our information.
Yeah.
What information are you looking for?
Well, normally, what happens when somebody, either a customer will contact you or will contact a customer, and there'll be a period in that conversation where the customer's giving us information.
Yeah.
So you might say, I'm so sorry, Mr. Smith or John, could you just explain exactly what's happened? Cue the customer gives you the information.
And something wrong with our information, and we can allow the customer to point out something wrong
Yeah,
in our information.
that's right, yeah.
We provide it.
Yeah, or the information that, something wrong, the information that they provided to us,
Yeah.
but we haven't recorded correctly.
Sorry.
Okay, I know. So the customer gives us information. We ask the customer, what's happened? The
Yeah.
customer says to us, well, it was Monday and it was raining and I was on DHgate and I burnt it. Okay, and it's never always just facts, do you know what I mean? You find out what the kids were doing that day and the dog jumped on the sofa and, it just winds out of control. But we're listening to all of this and we're recording it, okay? But we don't always record the information correctly.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
And I will cover that. This will become clearer later on. This opportunity that we have, so it's called reaffirmation. It's reconfirming the facts with the customer. This gives us the opportunity to say to the customer what we think has happened, and then it gives the customer the opportunity to say, yes, that's right, or no, hold on, wait a minute, this bit's wrong. That wasn't the order it happened in. This isn't what happened. Accuracy of information at the start is very important because it depends, it's the information that decides what happens with a dispute, yeah? That ultimately decides what's going to happen, what's the next step. We need to confirm that that information is correct before we do anything else. Plus, once the customer goes, yes, that information is correct, then they've said, yes, that information is correct. They can't sort of backpedal later on and go, oh, no, hold on, wait a minute. What was this? What's wrong? They can't change that information. They can't say no.
Maybe, Yulian, it is necessary for us to confirm the information to our buyer, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, well, whoever and seller. It's not just about buyers. It's just about customers. And this doesn't, let me say on a side note that customers aren't just people with a DHgate account, okay? You today are my customers. I'm providing a service to you. You will also provide services to everybody else in the company. This idea of a customer being somebody who generates us money through conversions on the website is a bit narrow. Think of everybody really, that we provide a service to, be it inside the company or outside, are our customers. But you can use these techniques for everybody. But you always confirm the information. Make sure it's accurate, because it decides on where we're going to go with an inquiry. So it's massively important because we might lose time, we might lose money, but more importantly, if we get it wrong, we're going to lose our social value, we're going to lose our trust relationship, and ultimately that's going to mean we're going to lose customer engagement, and that's what we care about, engaging with customers, because that gives us long-term strategic benefits as opposed to just the Are we all alright?
Yes.
Yeah?
I have a question.
Yes, splendid.
I have a question about the 3 points.
Yeah.
And the social has changed all the time. So I want to know how to get the correct social value.
How to get the correct social value?
Yeah.
There's no answer to that. What is the correct social value?
Yeah. Different countries will have different value, and every day we will meet different countries
Sure.
people. Yeah. So it's difficult for us to get it.
I understand what you mean, but the idea of social value is, don't think maybe I wasn't clear enough. When we talk about social value, it's not, when we say social, we don't mean it in the sense of societies, okay? We don't mean it about countries, towns, cities, buildings. That's what we mean. Social value is the value between you and me, social, or us, social. Yeah? When you're looking at generating that sort of value, to a greater extent, specific cultural things sort of get thrown out the window. Because we're no longer dealing with people, members of the human race, we're dealing with animals. This is what we are. We're dealing with an animal who no longer walks on 4 legs, and we just walk around. That's it. That's the only difference here. We wear shoes and stuff. And we have, on the whole, an overinflated opinion of ourselves as animals. We think, oh, we're superior. Haven't we done so well? Maybe not. This is the level that we want to start hitting things at. This is where we want to be looking. Information. We are cognitive. We think. Okay. We also hold information. We're also capable, which may be like other animals. Who knows? To being able to handle a multiplicity of different ideas and apply an internal filter and decide on what the best outcomes will be. We're capable of making decisions based on information. It's key to it. Is there food? Is there fire? Is there danger? Is there the prospect of being able to have children? These are all key, fundamental animal decisions, things that need information, but things that drive us. But the core of all of those questions is the fact that we have information. And if we can provide information, we automatically provide social value, because as animals, that's what we're after. That's how we make our decisions. We get information and we say, is this good for me, is this bad for me? So when we talk about social value, it is misinterpreted as a word. It's not about society in a cultural sense. It's about societies with us, animals, interacting with each other. Does that answer your question? I think maybe, I don't know. Does it?
I can change your question. That is, do you think it's a good channel from movie, and we can get some culture and some social value?
You can I don't know. The thing is, no, the problem is, okay, let's talk about this, it's going to happen. You have TV channels and you have films.
Yeah.
Why?
It's interesting, and you have
people watch it? Why do people watch it? Is it because there's value? Is there value in watching Harry Potter? Or is it something else? It's not a fact. It's not like it's not like watching some university thing and getting information you can use later. No, entertainment's entertainment. Entertainment is valueless, yeah? But the reason that we do it, the reason that we watch entertainment, this dancing and whatever's got talent and X Factor drivel, is it's escapism. That we know there is no value in it, in entertainment. But it makes us feel good, largely because we need to turn off for a bit. We need to ignore information. So, interestingly, as what we've done is we've created an environment through entertainment. So through maybe music, through films, through TV, absolutely through TV. We've created a space in our world that we can step into and escape from all the information that we have around us. Okay? We can ignore that. And it makes us laugh. It makes us feel emotion. This is important. Comedy, does anybody like comedy? Comedy.
Yeah.
Who like? Put your hand up if you like comedy. Put your hand up if you do. Come on. It's just there's two people in the room who like comedy. I doubt that. I doubt that. Yeah. No, that's it. Me and you like comedy.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, all of you. Okay. Why? Now this is interesting. We're going on a wild tangent here, but okay. Comedy. What does comedy make you do?
Relax.
Now, laughing.
Yeah.
I'm moving on to Yvonne's cafe latte. Laughing makes you feel good, doesn't it? Okay. You laugh and you feel a bit better. Why? Why? There must be something behind it.
Relax.
Actually has a prior value.
Not value, no. It's much worse than that. It's something
Just
our
in a
body
different
does.
way to show that.
When you laugh, what happens is, I can't remember what it's called, you get a chemical release in your brain. There's a couple of different ones. One of them's serotonin. Do you know, does anybody like chocolate? I love chocolate, you can tell, but anybody like chocolate?
Yes.
Okay. Why do we like chocolate? Well, the same thing happens. We eat chocolate and it releases this chemical, serotonin, in your brain. Serotonin makes you feel good. Laughing does the same, but laughing also produces another chemical, I can't remember the name of it. It's a drug, essentially. Just like how you take maybe you could take antidepressants, or you could take other psychotropic drugs, perhaps. The experience, the sensations, they all work in the same way. They work by creating, they release chemicals in your brain, and this affects your emotions, the way you think. Entertainment, as it is today, works in the same way. Okay, we watch it, and depending on what it is, we get a release of the chemical, which makes us think in a different way. Saw, do you know the film Saw? S-A-W. Saw 3, it's about people getting chopped up with chainsaws, stuff like that. Snakes on a Plane, anybody seen that? I'd like to say I haven't seen any of these films, they're not my sort of film. But these are scary films, like thrillers, horror films. We sit there, we watch it, it's a dark room. Why? Because that's what people do. Is it? No. We do it because it means it locks our concentration, doesn't it? Then something happens. There's somebody gets killed, or somebody jumps out of a closet, or whatever. What happens?
Just laugh and relax.
You laugh.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
It's fun.
You go, whoo, when something makes you jump. Then what happens? Your heart's going, boom, 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 boom. Why? Why Because yeah, this is it. Adrenaline. Our body, our mind goes, oh my word, what was that? Does anybody know flight or fight? Have you come across? It's like a biological thing. Do you know if you if you're in a conflict, if you're in a fight, okay, you make a decision. You're either going to flight or fight. You're either going to fight with that person or you're going to leg it. Or try, anyway. You know what's going to get you. The same thing happens. Your brain goes, oh, bloody hell. Right, what am I going to do? And then you realise, you lose track of the fact that you were sat on your settee watching this film. And your brain goes, oh, boom, leg it. Do you know what I mean? Man in wardrobe jumping out. But then just as quickly, boom, your mind goes, oh, hold on, wait a minute. You're sat in your living room, you're watching the film. But you don't come back to reality quickly enough. Your brain has already gone, right, Christ, let the adrenaline out. Your heart's going, This is entertainment, okay? It's creating false information to put us in an emotional state that we want to be in, strangely enough. We know we want to be in it because that's why we decide to watch comedy, or decide to watch horror. Soap operas, on the other hand, I'm no idea. Anger, that's the emotion that I feel when I watch a soap opera because it's rubbish. Social value, entertainment, related, but antonyms, two separate things really. One we actually benefit from socially, the other one is more of an escapism, like a social anthropology. Okay. Reassurance and empathy words, so building empathy. Now, we've all done this, I'm sure. We all really do know empathy. It's just maybe you haven't associated that word with it. But there are some key phrases that you can use, especially when on the telephone. Do you know when you're somebody speaking to you, you go, yeah, I understand. I don't know. Do you do that?
Yes.
I understand. Sure. Okay. These are key words. Okay. Hold on. Let me just check ahead. I don't know. These are key empathetic words that we use to tell the person we're speaking to that we do understand them. Verbal nods. Do we know? I'm going to cover this later, but do you know about verbal nods?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
Just go.
That was a little off
Yeah.
point. It's just I was stood in the middle of a room where lots of people go dums. That's me out of Wicker Man. That was weird. I'm going to sit back here for a bit, I think. The nonsense words, they don't mean anything. Not these, verbal nods are. They're just a way of telling the other party that we're still there and that we're listening. So you'll be able to, okay, right. Well, some of you must nod. I'm sure if I come and watch you on the phones or whatever, there'll be loads of you sat there nodding whilst you're listening to something. That's a physical nod. We do it. A lot of people don't do verbal nods. They don't. They're on the phone and speak to them. They go, yeah. They don't do that. It's bizarre. It's just silence. You don't know whether or not they've left. I mean, sometimes you feel you just put the phone down and walked off, and then come back in about 5 minutes. Are you still there? Verbal nods.
So okay is not nonsense.
Okay is not nonsense. No, these aren't the nonsense words. The verbal nods are. I'll do these later. Okay's got a star next to it because it's dangerous in some circumstances, and it's not really a reassurance word. It's like a full stop, like a period. Okay. You're listening to somebody, they're telling you information, and you're going, yeah, okay. I'm doing it there. Sorry, I'm not okay. Let me start again. I've got into bad habits. You say, yeah, I understand. I understand. I know. I understand. you want to draw a line, or when you want to start to bring that customer to an end of the information they're telling you, you start using okay. Yeah? We do this. We go, okay, yeah, sure, okay. So we go from, I understand. I know, sure, I know, sure. Okay. And it's true, and there's like there's a ladder of words that we go through to try and get them from this, and they're screaming, I understand, I know, and then sure, okay. And there you go, you see, and you this emotional ladder you've taken them from being really charged and emotional to being nice and calm, and then you're at the point where you can, okay, what we're going to do is this. These are, you know these anyway, you use them, I'm sure you all use them. I just wanted to put them in there so we, to bring some familiarity to the stuff we're talking about, in case we weren't quite on the same wavelength. This is just some way you can anchor in on, so you know what rapport and empathy building is relating to some words that we use day to day. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I understand. Now, ownership and control. This is something for us, really. This is for ourselves as individuals, as opposed to for the customer. But it does impact on the customer. I skipped ahead of one. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, there we go. Wow. Okay, this is like do you know what I mean by an idiom? It's like a saying, or like something that you think, okay, to try and help you do or behave in a certain way. Taking ownership of cases or of inquiries or of customers is very important. Because we're concerned or we're interested in customer engagement about the quality of interaction, we want to make sure that the customer, speak up, on. You'll win. We want to make sure the customer gets good quality interaction. Okay. But at the same time, we're always thinking about building trust, empathy, rapport, making the customer feel like we're good friends. We know each other for years. Ownership is key to this. Customer contacts DHK. Hello, it's Stephen here at DHK. How may I help you? This is my inquiry. Okay. Oh, hold on, wait a minute. You'll need to speak to this person. The customer goes away. Stephen transfers him to George. George goes, oh, hold on, wait a minute. You need to speak to Darren. Darren goes, no, hold on, they've got it wrong. You need to speak to George again. You go back to George, and George passes you on to Jane, and I say it's a nightmare. It's football. He can't, the customer's getting passed around so much that he's got no opportunity to build a relationship, regardless of whether or not he wants to or not. Ownership is all about thinking, when you speak to that customer, you're the first person that speaks to that customer. You are the company at that point. You're everybody. You're not just a one, say, from disputes resolution. You're DHK, you're Tang, you're Diane, you're SNS, you're TNS, you're everything, every possible element of the company you represent. And this is very important because the customer wants to speak to the company as well as an individual. Okay. The best way of thinking of it is each customer, as you're probably going to be able to predict what I'm going to say now, is the only customer in the world. Okay? That one customer, when you're speaking to them, when you're dealing with them, there are no others. There's just that one person. Okay? All of your time, your resource goes into that one. All of your attention goes to that person. Because there's only one customer, then why should you not be the only person to deal with that? Does that make sense? We only have one customer. Okay? Which means you, being the person who speaks to it, are the person that's responsible for that one customer. Does that make sense? No? It doesn't sort of, I'm saying it to myself now and I'm thinking maybe it doesn't. If we only have one customer, okay, and you're speaking to them, why is there a need for them to speak to anybody else?
We must attach much more importance to that one customer. Pay much attention.
We don't necessarily. Why would I want to speak to somebody else?
Because you don't trust you. Don't trust me. I want to get
Oh, the
some
customer
money.
may go, manager. Yeah, maybe. But that's because we haven't gone in and done rapport building. It's because we haven't gone in and got that trust relationship. We haven't used empathy. We haven't listened. If they're going, I want to speak to another person. Sometimes they will. Sometimes I just want to speak to another person. But 9 out of 10 times, or even less than that.
Because
They'll
usually
speak to you.
it makes it more personal, so they feel that you really care about their issue.
Yeah, you're chasing around. You're doing everything you possibly can to help this customer. It's all about this one person. Okay. You have to make sure the customer knows who you are. Okay. We are an online trading platform. We market ourselves as a global trading platform that facilitates frictionless cross-border trading. All right. I don't know what that means. All I remember is I've got global, frictionless, something else. Okay. All of these words are big words. They're words that make me think, wow, this is a big company. Okay. Global. I mean, you don't get bigger than that. Universal, maybe universe. That's where we're going. They're gonna feel lost. They're gonna feel a certain element of anxiety because they think, oh, it's me, little old me, talking to this big company. You have to make sure the customer knows who you are. Make sure you give them your name. It's Lawrence Moses. Say, if you need anything, speak to me. You can contact me. Okay? I'm dealing with this. You're my customer. You're the only customer. I'm going to make sure you get everything you need. Okay? This, at the bottom, you need to speak to whoever in whatever department is, I don't like it. I don't like it, and lots of my peers don't like it. Sometimes there are occasions, certainly in CS, where procedures say, well, you'll need to go and speak to this department. For you in DRC, probably not as much. There's more onus on you taking ownership of disputes. Dispute comes in, you have that case, you're going to see it all the way through to the end. In CS, it may be slightly different. Okay. Jesus, it's hot. Control. Now, it sounds a bit Orwellian, a bit sort of controlling. When I talk about control, it's about taking the customer from where they're at and putting them where they need to be. So just taking them on that journey, holding their hand, and getting them to the position that they need to be. The customer's contacting you, remember that. You're not contacting the customer. You're not cold calling, it's not sales. You're not trying to persuade them randomly to do something for you. Okay? The customer has contacted you. They're coming to you and asking you for your help and your professional opinion. Okay. They want to be guided through the dispute. They know that you're the expert, and that's what you should think yourselves as. You are all experts in dispute resolutions. If you weren't, you wouldn't be here. You know, you wouldn't be doing disputes. Somebody thinks, you know, my personal opinion is, yes, DRC, you're awesome what you do. The customer also knows that, and we tell the customer that
Yeah.
because we put them in contact with you, and they go, right, these people do it. So you should never feel threatened when dealing with a dispute, because you're the expert, they're coming to you. You're the ones who can help. Okay? You're all specialists in what you do. Ownership tips. Now the order went a bit screwy here, so I can work it out for you. But when looking at taking ownership, there's a few things that you need to take into account. The first thing is you're trying to foster a friendly relationship. You're trying to build trust and empathy. For instance, when I speak to A, when I haven't annoyed her, and she's speaking to me, do I call you A? Or do I refer to you by your surname? Yeah, it'd be a bit weird, wouldn't it? To call somebody by their surname. Well, maybe not in Chinese, but that's different. In the West, if my name is John Smith, and you're my friend, I've known you for years, and you come up to me and you said, Mr. Smith. You know, why are you calling me Mr. Smith? My name's John. Companies for years and years and years and years and years and years have been referring to people by their surname, Mr. Smith. Okay? Now it's okay once, you can do that once. Okay. Where companies go wrong is where they keep referring to the customer by their surname, Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith. This just creates a barrier, just creates distance between you and the customer. It's great. It's completely counterproductive. It's against what we're trying to achieve. When you contact a customer over the phone, okay, now there are some differences between written communication and verbal communication, which we're going to look at later. But when you can say you contact a customer over the phone or they speak to you, this is Von from Dispute Resolution Centre. Can I take your order number, please? You pull up the details, and you're in Trader, is it? Where you have the dispute information. And his name is Mr. Jones. I say, hello, Mr. Jones. Yeah. Do you mind if I call you? Find out what the first name is. Do you mind if I call you? They'll say yes or no. You're letting them guide the initial bit. You're letting them take control initially by saying, yes, you can call me by my first name, or no, you can't. You know instantly at that point, when you get an answer, where the relationship is at. Okay? If they say, sure, you can call each other, you know that the customer is receptive to a more of a friendly, closer relationship. Sure. If they feel that, no, I want to keep a distance, our relationship isn't at the point where you can call me by my first name, they'll say, no, I want you to call me Mr. Smith. Now, there's an interesting trick here. Because you're asking the customer, can I call you by your first name? He has a choice. First choice is to create a barrier and say, no, I want you to call me Mr. Smith. The problem is, he's going to feel a bit weird about that, or she's going to feel a bit weird about that. He's removing social value from himself. He's devaluing himself by saying, no, you can't do that, okay? So he has to make a compromise. He has to think, well, do I devalue myself and say, no, you have to call me by my surname, Mr. Smith? Or do I try and keep that social value and say, yes, you can call me John? Most of the time, they'll want to keep their social value. It's important to us, yeah? As people, as animals, this is how we make ourselves more valuable, more attractive to other people, through our value. Now, keeping that in your mind, okay, he's got this compromise, he's going, oh, okay, I want to keep that value. Apply it to a customer who's not happy, who's really pissed off, who wants to just come on and batter you, yeah, he just wants to shout, yeah. Because you're asking for the first name, okay, he's got, I don't want to lose social value, okay, but then he's also giving you his first name, which means inadvertently he's moved the relationship from a very formal, angry sort of, oh, you know what I mean, I'm going to give you some, to a friendly. Yeah? He's saying, yeah, call me by my first name. And all of a sudden it's friendly. Now, he's hit with a second problem, because now he's said, oh, let's be friends, use my first name. But at the same time he's going, but I've got all this stuff I want to say to you that I'm not happy about. I can't, because now we're friends. This doesn't make any sense. Do you see what I'm saying? You have a customer. They're not happy. Okay. This is just a bit of background. They're contacting DHK because they want to vent. They want to air their frustration. They contact you. Okay. And when they contact you, they have this social value. Okay? Think of it as an arbitrary number, 10. And we'll just say he's got 10. Whatever this is. Because he contacts us, and you say to him, hello, Mr. Smith. Okay, fair enough, everything's normal. Do you mind if I call you John? Okay. If he says no, he'll lose some social value. His social value will go from 10 to 7. Okay? Because he's created a barrier, he's removing value from it. But at the same time, he doesn't want to close the gap between you and him because he's angry. Yeah? So he has to make a decision. But subconsciously, yeah, so in our minds, we're really concerned about our social value. So the majority of the cases, he won't say, no, call me Mr. Smith. He'll say, yes, call me by my first name, John. Yeah, he'll agree. So he's kept his number 10 value. Yeah, he's got 10 value. Still got it. But at the same time, the reason he was calling was to be angry. You know what I mean? It's like Swahili, what dance is it? You know, really not happy. The problem is, when he first called, he could have shouted because he didn't know you. You had no relationship. You were the company.
Yeah.
Because he's agreed to you calling him by his first name. Close the gap. You're friends now. You're closer to being friends, which makes it more difficult for him to start shouting. Yeah, he feels that he can't because the relationship isn't Mr. Smith shouting at the company. It's John. Do you know what I mean? Shouting at my friend. It doesn't make sense. So it's a good way of getting that initial relationship to be a much more level playing field. Yeah, it allows us to get on a level, on the same plane, with the customer. Yeah, and it makes them much more receptive to a real conversation where good things happen, as opposed to just a blinding around. Wow, that was only the first one. The second point is just a reiteration of what we were saying earlier. Take ownership. Tell them who you are. I'm dealing with this. Yeah, John. Yeah, I'm on it. Don't need to worry about it. It's me. I'm taking care of this. Okay? make sure that they know who you are and that you're dealing with it. And that regardless of what happens, you'll be dealing with it. The customer needs attention, okay? He needs, or she needs, to be spoken to. They need contact all the time, like a baby, okay? Yeah, you need to nurture them, and I'm not saying don't go as far as feeding them, but you know, you get the point that you need to be in regular contact with them. They get needy, they get very, very needed, okay? Even if there's nothing to say, make sure you contact them. Maybe every day, every 2 days, every 3 days. What'll happen is, what you'll find is, if it's a new customer that never dealt with you before, initially they're going to need more attention. You're going to need to contact them more regularly, so perhaps once every day. Oh, John, we're just dealing with this. Don't worry about it. Then as time goes on, he'll be more confident because you've not abandoned him. Okay? You're making regular contact, so he'll trust you more. Which means you can then, instead of contacting them every day, you can leave it 3 days. Well, John, just to let you know, there's no progress at the moment, but we're working. And then from there, you can move to 5 days. But the point is that you make sure you have regular contact. You manage the amount of time however you see best. You're speaking to the customer. You are assessing their expectations. You're the one, I don't know, I've got a clue, what he wants. Yeah? I don't know, I've not spoken to them. You're the ones that are, you have the relationship, you know the customer. Okay, so you can decide, it could probably be about 3 days. Yeah, I'll contact them in 3 days. But even if there's no update, contact them, just to say, even if it's to say, look, there's no change yet. But we are, yeah, we're on, we're dealing. A lot of customer service professionals miss this. And what they do is they wait for an event to happen. Yeah? So maybe a judgment on a case or for confirmation of payment. And they use that as a trigger. They use that as a sign to say, right, contact the customer and give them the update. That's no good. It's no good because the customer needs regular contact. They need nurturing. They need taking care of. As you build your relationship, they'll get less needed. They'll grow up, they'll leave home. You won't need to do it as much. But especially with new customers, you need to get contact. Proactively following up cases. I know you all do this. I'm sure this is a waste of me putting this in here, but just to reiterate, come up with a system, whatever works for you. Come up with, maybe use your Outlook. Get a task list in Outlook with your customers, customer information. You say, right, I need to chase that up tomorrow. I need to chase that up in 2 days. Okay. Call them, badger people. We all do it. Get some information. Find out what's happening with it. If it's stuck, or if it's waiting for something to happen, find out why. And then you can go back to the customer and say, well, look, no change in progress yet. We're just waiting on this. It's going to be 14 days. But I'll contact you in the interim. I'll contact you during those 14 days just to let you know if there is any change. Okay. Not I'll contact you within those 14 days if there is a change, but just to let you know what the status is. The final point is really important. I've done this a number of times in the past and it's never gone well. Never break an appointment with a customer. If there's one thing that will piss off a customer, it's where you say you're going to do something at a certain time and then it doesn't happen. Sometimes it's unavoidable. Sometimes you can't perform that action that you said you would. That's okay, because this happens. But if you don't contact the customer and tell them, if you say, I'll call you on Wednesday, and you don't do that, well, that doesn't happen. That is incredibly bad news. Because all of the time, the effort, the energy that's gone into building that friendship, the relationship, automatically binned. You have to start from scratch. Okay? Likelihood is the customer will be thinking now about abandonment. Do you know, are we familiar with abandonment? It's where, okay, say we have a customer on the platform, it's where they leave, they're no longer on the platform. Yeah, it's where they're not going to buy. They've got to a point where they're no longer going to use the service. Okay, if we break an appointment, we're abandoning them. So they turn around and go, well, screw it, I'm going to abandon you. That's a lot worse for us than it is for them. Because they can buy from anywhere. Yeah, they can get service from anywhere. We have to make sure we keep appointments so they don't die. Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to this. Now, is ownership and control. I know that's a whistle-stop tour, but we're going to cover some really useful tips shortly. We've got any questions about ownership or control? This is really, you probably sat there thinking, what why is he telling us this? Yeah, what's the point? I already know this. This is obvious. Yeah, it's obvious, but sometimes it just needs to again. Either to confirm to you, yes, this is important, you're doing it the right way, or if you've forgotten, as we do, we know it. Alright. Let me ask you a question. What travels faster? This is a bit of a physics question. Indulge me. What travels faster, light or sound?
Light.
Okay. Now, electrical signals, electrons, electricity. Does that travel faster than sound, or slower than sound, or the same speeds? It's a trick question. Electrical signals. Incidentally, that was called framing because I said electrical signals, do they travel faster, slower, or at the same speed as sound? So you're automatically relating that to sound. The truth is, and you know this, I know you know this, is electrical signals travel about the same speed as light. Okay, 3 times 10 to the power 8 meters per second. I think it is. It's on the head. But I framed the question to be about sound, so you avoid it. We were talking about this earlier. Anyway, I'm going off track. Electrical signals is what makes our brain work, okay, as well as horror films and chemicals. We think faster than sound, yeah? We think faster than we hear. We don't like this. It's slow, it's inefficient, waiting for sound. When somebody speaks to us, our brain gets bored, or our brain thinks, I know, I'll help out here and speed things up. What happens is we hear what people are saying to us. Because we don't want to wait to process the sound, our brain has a guess. It goes, I think he means this or that. And the brain puts in bits of information that it tries to predict. Because it doesn't want to wait. Because it thinks it's quicker, because it thinks it's better. The problem here, as we talked about earlier, is when you passively hear, as we call it, so when your mind makes up information and puts it in for you, when you passively hear, what you think the customer has said is different from what the customer has said. Yeah? Does that? Okay. Our brain makes stuff up. Yeah? It just goes, right, yeah, that'll do. That will fit into what I think this conversation is about. So when we write down what we think we've heard and compare it to what the customer has said, often they're two different things because we've got the stuff our brain has made up for us. Thank you, brain. This takes a while to get used to. I still fall foul of persevering Active listening is about slowing your brain down or stopping it from creating this rubbish information. Yeah? It's about giving your brain the time to allow the sound to come into your ear, go through this mad network of connections up here, and then plop, out comes the actual information. There's some dead easy techniques you can use to do this. Do you know when you're speaking to a customer, you're doing your verbal nods? We were talking about this. Right. Okay. Instead of doing that, what you can do is you can use okay, which we use for what? Who remembers what okay is for? Do you remember? I understand. I know. Sure, yeah, I know, sure, okay. Okay, we use as a way of stopping the customer, and then we change direction. Yeah.
Yes.
You can use a little okay, not a big okay, not like okay. Not that big. It's too big. We use a little okay. Say right. I understand. Okay, so so. The word so. Yeah. So is like ma or la. It's a soft question. Okay. Okay, so that says to the customer, stop for a minute. It's not an okay, that's a big okay. It's okay. Just a quick okay, so that says, right, customer, stop for a minute. I'm asking you a question here. Okay, so you mean this. Okay. Get them to stop, prepare them for the question, ask them the question. Okay? And what you're doing when you ask the question is you're just repeating, reaffirming that information that they've given you. You're saying, okay, so this, and this. Okay. Two things happen here. One, we go back a couple of slides and it gives the customer the opportunity to correct us. The second thing is, it gives your brain time. It just says to your brain, wait a minute, no op, we call them, no operations. Stop. Gives your brain time to take the information in and process it properly. So your brain isn't creating fiction, magical words that you get from novels or something like that. Yeah, there's none of that. Your brain doesn't do that. It has the time to actually take it. This is active listening, passive hearing. It's about realising that your brain works fast, getting it to stop, and it's also about using that reaffirmation, that process of repeating back to the customer and asking, is this information correct? It's two things. It's a little thing, and I'm sure you all do it. But we all slip out of that. When we're speaking to a customer, we always have to use